on the chat on YouTube, and we'll also be talking about a few other topics that we want to share with you. We have a question that's come in from Michael DiStefano. Is Church of the Res having any appropriately social distanced in-person gatherings? And we want to say yes. We have some already in the works. We just had one last week that was a picnic outside after worship in Lincoln Park. That was great. About 50 people gathered for a time to eat together and get to say hello to one another. It was really wonderful because many people we haven't seen in months. I saw about 100 of our folks at the march a couple of months ago, and then this past week a picnic of about 50. And it's very moving, actually, to be with Res people again. It's wonderful. So we have a couple of things that are in the works, and they're all picnics of one sort or another. One is coming up very soon after worship. We'll have another picnic in Lincoln Park, or in a park very close here on Capitol Hill. And we hope to have another gathering for people to eat and to be together and also to share in the Lord's Supper together. We had a great meeting yesterday with the parish council all day, doing a lot of looking back over the past year, looking ahead to next year, planning out our budget, and talking about what's working, how can we make some changes. And one of our highest priorities is to find a way to have communion together again. This is a really important part of our worship and of our experience of Jesus together. So that's coming up. Watch for that in the newsletter and on our church listserv. If you're not on those, please go to the homepage and click on those. That's one thing. It's a corporate gathering for communion and picnic in the park. Matt's going to tell you about another thing that's coming up as well.
We also want to help you be close on Sundays.
You're my Chick-fil-A.
Yes. One of the other things that we've talked about and are working towards is on Sundays being able to form some groups for you to get together in small groups, socially distanced, outdoor, and to discuss the sermons, maybe share some food together. And we want those to be something you can opt into, and then we'll help you find one that's geographically based so that you can go to this group pretty easily. It'll be close to your house. You can settle on a meeting location and time as a group. So that's something we're working on as well that we'll roll out in the next few weeks. Close on Sundays. That was my idea, the name, just so you know, if you like it. But yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt.
I just had to take credit for the name.
I want to highlight a few books that are helpful right now because there's really two pandemics. There's one related to coronavirus, and then there's another one related to racism in our country. And Representative John Lewis died this weekend, and there have been a number of different ways of remembering him over the weekend that have been posted in the media. He was the last great icon of the civil rights movement who was a part of the March on Washington, and he died. He was a wonderful Christian hero, really embodying a lot of what Matt was talking about in the sermon today. He was someone who embodied the truth, who was willing to be trampled for it, and who ultimately is vindicated now, triumphing now through his constant witness for the truth. There's a book about him. It's a series of books that he co-authored, and they're graphic novels. It's called March, and it involves not only the march over the Pettus Bridge on the way to Selma, but also the March on Washington, and all of his life a march of one way or another. And it's really excellent. It's excellent not just for adults, but also for kids. And so I want to recommend this, especially this weekend, to you. You can get it out of the DC library, and even though some of the libraries are closed right now, you can order books to be delivered to a library that's opened and then pick it up. Or I encourage you to purchase it one way or another. Another book I think that's been especially important for many people in our congregation in engaging this conversation is the book Just Mercy, Brian Stevenson. And this has become a film fairly recently that's available for free on many different platforms. A very compelling look at unjust imprisonment and unjust death penalty executions across the country, and one man's fight to try to change that. And I think this has been a way of exploring the conversation for people who haven't been able to engage it before. It's a great way to begin. So I encourage you to read this as well. And a third book that is very important to us right now is the book, The Color of Compromise. I'm going to ask Matt to say a few words about how we've been engaging this study and what's coming up starting this week.
Yeah. You know, often in Christian circles, when we write and read books, we like to tell the stories of the heroes of the faith and the great successes that we've had, and rightly so, and that's normal. But The Color of Compromise is a very different book that asks us to come to terms with the deep complicity in racial injustice that the church has had throughout our nation's history. And so it starts before the revolution, and it goes all the way up to the present day. And you see the way that at times the church, actually parts of the church, underwrote the racism that was in the society. Other times it knew it was wrong and just sort of didn't want to rock the boat too much. And so you see this as racism in the society evolves, the church also evolves in how it's relating to that. And it's not a fun book to read in many ways. It's very easy to read and readable and fascinating. But it causes us to have to come face to face with some realities that are hard in the past, but they're essential for us to understand how we got here today. And if we can understand how we got here today, we will be better equipped in order to seek reparation, to repair what has happened in our history. And so it's really a book of equipping, doing that work of coming to terms with the past so that we can move forward in faith and hope and love. And I think it's just an important and timely book for us to read at this time. And we're having some great discussions. We've been meeting on Thursday evenings on Zoom. As Dan mentioned, we had a very large group that did this for 6 weeks. We basically read 2 chapters a week, or we watch 2 of the videos, the corresponding videos on Amazon Prime in preparation for the discussion. We come together, we break out into small groups, we discuss the questions related to the material, and then we pray together. And it's very simple, and it's been a rich time to explore these topics and also just to get to know some other people in the church. And a lot of great feedback out of the first one. People excited about possibilities of how we could go further in this conversation, to think about how do we embody the truth and bear witness to the reconciliation that Christ has effected through his death and resurrection. So we're looking forward to the outgrowths that can come from this kind of work as God's people have their imaginations inspired to act.
So the Color of Compromise study begins again this Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you would like to be a part of that, you can go on our homepage and join in. Just click on the link. If you, for one reason or another, can't access the videos and can't access the book, let us know. We'd love to put a copy of this into your hands. We hope that you'll participate, and for those who have already participated, we're so glad that you were able to do so. We'll be following up with you about other ways that you can continue to learn and grow. Here's a question from Andrea. I'm curious about the timing of this experience in John's life. I think this is about the sermon, Matt. So you talk about it being the commissioning of his prophetic work. Is this unveiling before John writes his gospel and other letters?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anyone knows that conclusively. My assumption, Dan may differ on this, is always that Revelation was written later than the gospel. John is here on the island of Patmos. He's in prison. He does, we know, get out, and he dies a very, very old man. So it's possible that he has written the gospel later. I have not thought about that. That's a great question.
So there's some evidence that the way that John structured his gospel has a lot of echoes in the way that he structured Revelation. And based on that argument, it looks like he wrote the gospel first, and then he wrote Revelation. But there's a tremendous amount of symmetry between them. And you may find that surprising because one seems like it's a story about Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, and the other is filled with all of these wild, wacko creatures and the witnesses and strange things in the heavens. But actually, what we've been saying throughout this series is that the book of Revelation is also a story. And it does have something to say about the Christian life today. It also does have something to say about the future. But those who want to read it as saying something about today or about the future alone, without first of all understanding that it is a story looking back at what happened to Christians in the first century, they're going to miss out on understanding it the way that it was originally written. So we would encourage you to read the book of John, the Gospel of John, in one hand with Revelation in the other, and see there's correspondences between the two of them.
Excellent question.
Andrea follows up. That's what I'm wondering. How is his prophetic voice intermingled between his writings?
Yeah.
He's an apostle first, Andrea. He's an apostle first, and that's his commission early on. And so he begins really as a storyteller and as a witness to Jesus. But here in Revelation, he's being commissioned now as a prophet. And there's something else that's happening, and he's going to add to that, speaking out against injustice in a new way. So not just reflecting back on the story of Jesus, but now speaking out against injustice that's happening in the church that he's a part of. So it's hard to draw a hard and fast line between apostle and prophet, but there's something being added to his commission in this story. Thanks for those good questions.
Here's one from the Reverend Solmane Magadi, who is here in the room running the sound. Thanks for doing that this morning, Solmane. He says, can we get an update on Reverend Aubrey Spears and his family?
So Aubrey Spears is the pastor of the Church of the Incarnation in Harrisonburg, one of the churches that we've been involved in helping to get started. We started it about 10 years ago, and Aubrey came to be the first pastor there. And he has been in the hospital, Aubrey has been in the hospital over the past week with the COVID-19, and he's been in very serious condition. And believe it or not, that is just the tip of the iceberg of the many really tragic things that have happened to him and his family and to the church and to the churches up and down the Shenandoah Valley that we have been a part of getting started. So at some point when it became evident that all of these things were happening and now Aubrey's in the hospital, there was a 24/7 prayer initiative that was started for him. People were gathering outside of his house morning and evening to pray, and people up and down the Shenandoah Valley were scheduled to be praying for him all the time. And many of us throughout the resurrection community and throughout the Diocese of Christ Our Hope have been praying for Aubrey. People all over the world have been praying for him. I have really great news to share today that over the past several days, he's really turned the corner, and he is now increasingly able to breathe without a lot of extra equipment, and they're looking at sending him home over the next 3 to 5 days. That's the hope. So let's keep praying for him, not only for his healing, but also especially for the Lord's protection. This is a kind of modern day Job story, and there are many things that have been broken or stolen, and we want to pray for God to restore and heal 100-fold for him and his family and for the church there. So keep praying for them, and we'll keep you posted. We also had a meeting this week with the seller of the building here on Capitol Hill that we're trying to purchase. Many of you know we've been taking steps to raise money and to purchase a building here on Capitol Hill. And this has been something we've been engaged in very actively for over 2 years. In October of 2018, our congregation voted unanimously to purchase this particular building at a certain set of terms. And we raised the money over the past year. And we now have been negotiating a contract with the seller. And some things, surprising things happened in the negotiations over the past several months. Some of the details changed. Some of the details that we had previously voted on in October of 2018 were changed. And we really think in this last meeting, this past Tuesday night, that we were able to get to the heart of some of what was going on. And just simply put, the way things have been arranged over the past few months has been our attorney, the Church of the Resurrection, their church, and their attorney, ACCA. And what we've really needed is for the churches, the two C's, to be on the outside and the two attorneys in the middle working on the contract together. Because there's been a kind of game of telephone between the two attorneys on how to change the document. And they're the experts. The churches aren't the experts. So we're very hopeful that what happened on Tuesday night was we rearranged the seating order. The churches are sitting on the outside and the attorneys are now in the middle, not for the sake of relationship, but in order to do their job, to get the details of the contract finalized so that we can sign it. And we were very, very clear. We're ready to sign. We're ready to move forward. We have the money by God's grace, and we're ready. So let's finish it up. The seller understood this, and their attorney understood it. So keep praying for that as well, and we'll keep you posted. And hopefully, by God's grace, we'll be able to move into a new, very old church building by the end of 2020. That's our plan.
Will the heater work?
It works right now. We hope it will continue to work.
I have a question. You know, we're doing a lot of these things. We're trying to put together some outdoor gatherings. We're testing this equipment to hopefully get to some offering of live worship again. If people want to get involved, what are the ways that we most need help right now?
Yeah, thanks. So we are right now doing an experiment. We're learning how to do live broadcasting of this Q&A, in addition to showing you some filmed portions of the service beforehand. And this is requiring a couple of helpers from the Capitol Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church who are here with us, and then I think 4 people on our team from our staff and from volunteers who are here learning how to use the equipment. This is a lot more complex than what we used to have when we were just simply running the sound and the slides for a live service. So we need a whole new army of volunteers to learn technology, and I think it's relatively simple to learn, but there's just a lot of moving parts. So we are getting trained on it, and we would love to bring you in and train you as well. If you have any interest in doing that, we could really use your help. We also have need during the week of some help on some video editing. If you have any skill in that, we could use your help with that. We need a little bit of help still on packing up the res house. That's our office space, and we'll be moving out of that over the next couple of weeks as we put some things in storage and get ready to move into the new building. We could use help with packing, we could use help with moving, and we could also use help with buying our old furniture. If you have any furniture, we'd love to have your help with that. And then as Matt said, we are trying to begin offering this way of distributing the community of our church across the city on Sunday afternoons. And if you have the ability to host people in your backyard or somewhere nearby your house and play a role in hosting a few people to come and gather with you in a socially distanced way, we'd love to have you participating in that as well. all of these different volunteer needs you can sign up for on our website. Just go to the homepage. So we are moving out of the res house. I shared that with you guys. We also have a lot of turnover. It happens every summer. I just wanted to mention this. There's about 20 people who are moving away this summer, 20 adults and children, and we're sad to see everyone going. It's always hard to see people go, and we wish you all the best as you go, and we hope you'll continue to tune in from wherever you end up. We're pleased that there are many people who are moving into the city, new people who are joining us on Res TV. By our count, there's about 25 new people who are joining in one way or another. And another way that everyone can help right now is by welcoming those who are new. You can welcome them in just simply by being present with us, say on morning prayer as new people join, and greeting new people there. We do morning prayer Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. You can be welcoming on our listserv. You can attend the things that we offer, like the picnics, and be welcoming to people who are new. I'd just like to remind those of you who have been around our community for a while that you were new once, and remember how it felt, and give some effort, please, to help welcome in those who are new, because it's so hard to get integrated into the community right now. We need your help with that. Any other questions coming in?
I don't see any other questions about anything coming in on the YouTube channel.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. We're really glad to have I believe, had a very successful experiment with this technology and have been able to chat with you a little bit. We look forward to a day very soon when we'll be able to begin regathering here in this space for Sunday morning worship. We hope to have some people coming to see what's going on and be a part of the service, and we're building towards that. We hope that you have a wonderful week, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next Sunday on Res TV. Bye-bye.
God bless you.